Ini mereka belum maju dulu ya. Good evening, everybody. We're about to start. So, first of all, I was supposed to ask a question whether anyone knows about Gojek, but I thought it would be a crime to ask that. I believe that everyone knows who and what Gojek is. Gojek is the unicorn that starts in Indonesia. It's truly the pride of the nation. I mean, who doesn't know it? I myself am an avid user of Gojek. I use it at least 3 times a day if I go back, whether I'm commuting, delivering goods, or craving for food. Gojek is indeed a friend. Aside from its many great features, Gojek has been creating a social impact in Indonesia. It has solved the most important thing that developing countries like Indonesia have, as Mr. Nadim said, underemployment. We have so many people who are waiting to be employed in Indonesia, energy to be harnessed, and opportunities to be realized. Gojek has achieved this through its platform. And after receiving funding of over $750 million, Gojek is only on its trajectory to reach its full potential. Therefore, with its exponential growth, it only makes sense for each and every one of us to #Pulang Kampung to join the revolution, making an impact of significant magnitude in Indonesia. And without further ado, I would like to let Indonesia explain more than what words can say.
Innovation dan social impact. Ini 3 pilar Gojek. Speed adalah cara kita bekerja cepat, inovasi adalah cara kita, social impact adalah purpose kita. Dan purpose kita adalah dampak sosial kepada seluruh negara Indonesia. Karena sekarang semuanya ada akses dengan smartphone, kami bisa membuka akses kepada mereka untuk dunia digital agar mereka bisa lebih sejahtera.
Pada tahun 2019 lah smartphone aplikasi. Jadi Gojek kalau saya adalah panel call center, di mana masyarakat kita bisa telepon setelah diinput. Nah, satu teleponnya itu dulu dari satu sana sampai mungkin bisa belajar beberapa kali. Kalau tadi saya bilang mungkin sekitar 20.
Bagi dalam sebuah revolusi besar dalam moda transportasi di Indonesia yang menjadi pusat perhatian dunia. Moda transportasi model itu ada 2. Yang utama adalah safety. Kalau safety yang utama, tidak akan bisa aman maupun dalam keadaan. Nah, Gojek telah memberikan pelatihan bagi para pengemudinya masing-masing untuk bisa meningkatkan kepercayaan para customer ketika mereka menggunakan moda transportasi ini.
Kalau kita lihat banyak ya masalah-masalah dari media, kita sudah banyak kebutuhan untuk mengirimkan barang lebih cepat. Jadi sebelumnya dengan pengiriman reguler, pembeli betul-betul harus menunggu lebih lama, 1 hari, bisa 2-3 hari, tapi dengan hanya offsite, jadinya sangat cepat. Beberapa jam saja, bahkan mungkin kasus kecil di bawah 1 jam sudah bisa sampai.
Untuk festival yang ada 11 tamu yang penampilan sehari ada minimum 33, pergerakan barang itu kalau misalnya barang itu lambat sampai, acara kami yang lambat mulai. Otomatis kalau kita meng-hire yang lebih banyak, biaya juga semakin tinggi, sementara kegunaannya menjadi maksimal. Dengan adanya box, otomatis jumlahnya lebih fleksibel karena kita disupport oleh box, jumlahnya jadi jumlahnya kuliner berdasarkan kebutuhan kita untuk jarak dan waktu yang kita butuhkan.
Bisa mulai dari jumlah yang sangat tradisional, itu cuma jualan di pinggir jalan,
jualan awalnya 10 bisnis per hari aja kadang-kadang. Tapi begitu daftar sayang sekali hari pertama GoFood datang 3 dari Gojek. Sekarang kurang lebih 350 sampai 400 per hari. Jadi kalau sebulan kurang lebih ada 350 sampai 400 bisnis bisa terjual melalui Gojek setiap bulan.
GoFood is feeding me every day. People gimana? Saya order GoFood.
Service yang paling enak di Gojek itu kopi, mulai lama terus langsung bawa alat dan cepat juga.
Kalau saya sekarang coba think about what would tomorrow be like without Gojek, it's like I don't even imagine what it would be like. I would be probably frustrated. So please don't take it away from us.
Kita melihat bahwa dengan adanya bisnis model di Gojek itu macam kebutuhan untuk kebutuhan pembayaran tentu masyarakat membutuhkan sesuatu yang praktis. GoPay adalah uang elektronik dan ada uang elektronik lebih aman juga bisa lebih transparan.
Karya anak bangsa merupakan suatu ekspresi menginspirasi lain bahwa bisa inovasi dari Indonesia bisa menyaingi player-player masa dunia dan makna masa dunia bahwa Indonesia itu mampu menciptakan perusahaan-perusahaan yang kelas dunia.
Thank you for your round of applause. And without further ado, it is such an honor for me to introduce you the 3 significant figures of Gojek that are here today. Let's welcome the CEO and founder of Gojek, who happens to also be Mr. Ivy, graduating from both Brown and Harvard with an incredible experience in the Indonesian startup ecosystem. To go celebrate, Mr. Nadine Makarim. Next, I would love to welcome the Chief Intelligence Ojek, the USC Trojan, who also has a plethora of experience in the Indonesian startup community, Mr. Kevin Alui. Last but not least, we have the CTO of Ojek, who was founder of Code Ignition, an emerging technology trust, including becoming the CTO and head of technology of ThoughtWorks and Hopper, Mr. AJ Gore. We introduce you stage.
All right. So let's try. Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you for making it out today. It's a Saturday, right?
It is a Saturday.
It's a Saturday, so we really appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to come see a bunch of kids trying to do some crazy things in Indonesia right now. Hopefully, by the end of this session, I can convince you that it's time to pulang kampung. Okay? That's really what this acara is all about. Like, I'm going to weave in between Indonesian and English, but I think everyone's comfortable roughly with both, right? I'll keep it mainly English. But basically, the point of this session, the point of this meeting, this is the first one we've done. And the reason why we haven't done this before is we didn't feel like we had enough yet to share and to actually convince you guys that Indonesia really is where the opportunity is. But now we have data, we have a lot of insights, we have experience to basically let you know that, wow, like Indonesia is the next rising superpower, especially in the area of technology, right? Because we just totally skipped that whole infrastructure, revolution that everyone had to go through in the Western world. We just went straight to mobile. And so internet in Indonesia, as we know it, is a mobile internet industry. And that's the craziness of how Gojek and other startups grew, came out from this mobile revolution. So timing is everything. So we think this is an opportune time to come and talk to you about Indonesia, really. Frankly, if we lose you to another startup in Indonesia, I've still done my job, right? the point is actually to get you guys excited about coming back home. And so hopefully we'll be doing that. Just a little bit about my background. So gue SD di Aliza, Pondok Labu. And I went to middle school in New York. I went to high school in Singapore, in Iowa College. Kuliah S1 di Brown University. Balik, did McKinsey for 3 years. Balik lagi grad school in HBS. Didn't go to class at all and just worked on Gojek during my MBA. Built that out. It was a call center. I put in my life savings into Gojek, but I couldn't afford it myself. So I had to go make money in other companies. In the meantime, it was just a call center. And only in 2014 and then 2015, January, when we launched, is when the real story of Gojek really began. So for those of you that were surprised at what Gojek is, or it's normal because we did only start January 2015. It's a 2-year-old app. It's a 2-year-old app. So pretty fast, actually. So that's a little bit about me. I think you guys want to introduce yourself? Sure. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Ajay. I worked in computer corporates for around 12 years. Then I started my own and started working with Gojek around June 2015 and became part of Gojek in October 2015. So that was a pretty good decision for me. Didn't take that much long, so shouldn't take that much long as well. One fact about me is I'm not a comp science graduate. Chris just asked me what is the first job. My first job was to actually do design on computer desktops. So I used to design apps. So I was graphic designer. So I hold a diploma in fine arts and I hold a degree in comps. So, but here I am after like 17, 18 years. One of the things which actually excites me at Gojek is the kind of opportunity and kind of challenges you get is really, really different. 10 years back or 5 years back, that didn't exist only in the US or maybe in developing countries, developed countries. But now Gojek gives you that edge over everybody else. So that's where I am with Gojek.
So my name is Kevin. I'm also Indonesian. Dulu SD SMP di Tirta Pondok Indah. Terus pindah SMA ke GIS. Terus S1 di USC. I was a finance major. Graduated in 2009. Had a brief stint doing investment banking in LA for a little bit, and then hated it. Moved back to Indonesia 2011. Terus langsung masuk ke dunia teknologi. So very early, I've seen the technology space grow tremendously since 2011 to what we have today, and obviously companies like ours are a really big part of that story. So we're here to share that story and hopefully get all of you guys excited about it as well. So maybe we should just start. We have a very short 10-12 slide presentation just to give you guys kind of a brief overview of what we've achieved in a relatively short amount of time. But after that, we're just going to have a more free-flowing session. So this is just the highest level overview. I think the biggest point that we want to make about this is that we managed to gain market leadership in some very, very competitive and very, very large industries. So we're the #1 digital wallet in Indonesia after launching GoPay in April of 2016. So about 8-9 months in, we are the largest online wallet by transactions, even bigger than all the banks, bigger than all the telcos. We're the #1 ride-hailing platform in Indonesia at roughly around 60% market share between us, Grab, and Uber. We're the #1 food delivery platform in actually all of Asia, excluding China. This includes India. So we do more orders per day on GoFood than what the top 4, top 5
Combined.
Combined in India.
Orang Indonesia suka makan banget.
Yes, yeah. And we are the #1 instant logistics company in Indonesia. Instant logistics being on-demand and point-to-point deliveries. Yeah. And this is kind of an overview of where we stand in these specific verticals. Digital wallets, food delivery. We're doing on our best days, we're doing about 132,000 deliveries per day. all across those 15 cities in Jakarta. So before we launched GoFood, if you look at the market for food delivery, you would think it's very small. Because when you think about food delivery in Indonesia, you would think McDonald's, you would think KFC, you would think, Piggy, Panda, these guys. And if you put them all together, you're like, oh, this is a very small food delivery market in Indonesia. Because as you can see, it does imply it's very small. But what we've actually figured out on food is that the key in food is selection. It's having a very long tail of restaurants. So what you saw earlier, Pisang Goreng Tunani, it's like some random pisang goreng place in Jakarta Barat. It's in the middle of nowhere, and yet they're doing about 1 M of revenue per month selling pisang goreng. So
there's like a term, kaya GoFood. Itu banyak banget sekarang. Suddenly small merchants kayak tiba-tiba kaget kaya gitu. Karena sekarang orderannya ada over 50% dari GoFood additional orders, right? And it's spread through social media that this pisang goreng was the best or that martabak was the best. Jadi banyak banget merchant GoFood kaget kaya gitu. They're driving around in like nice cars. Jualan martabak doang.
Mobilnya Mercy, jualan pisang goreng. Yeah, so I think food was one that was, I think even everyone in the team was very surprised that food grew to be this large, especially considering the existing market. Because we basically own 95% of the food delivery market in Indonesia at the moment. In terms of ride hailing, from a registered driver's perspective, we are by far the largest. We have about 200,000 bikes and 50,000 other vehicles, including trucks and cars. And obviously, it's the logistics, which is something that actually Gojek pioneered. Previously, you would have to go to like a JNE or a PT, but obviously that is not instant, and you would actually have to travel, and always next day or 2-3 business day deliveries. So that's something that we've definitely pioneered, and have really big plans to continue expanding through interactions with, integrations with marketplaces like Omni and such. Next slide. Give you a sense of the penetration of the app within Indonesia. So we're actually about 73% of all iOS devices in Indonesia, and about 35% of all Android devices. And you can see from the usage metrics, even relative to our competitors, we are still the most widely used on both platforms. In case you guys didn't know, Indonesia is a very interesting and very promising country from a development perspective. Young urban population, growing middle class, GDP per capita, high mobile penetration. Primarily, as Nadeem mentioned, internet access is on mobile. So this is actually absolutely the right vertical to be in. Okay. So this is how it all started, right? This is really kind of what catapulted Gojek to where it is today. Gojek transportation. So at a most basic level, as I'm sure all of you are aware, Jakarta especially, but also all other Indonesian cities, have severe underinvestment in infrastructure, and traffic is terrible. So we actually were the first to really tackle the problem of traffic at scale by actually introducing on-demand Gojek rides. And this is kind of what happened to those drivers who we first onboarded on the platform. As you can see, previously, as some of you might know, Gojeks are very unproductive because of just structurally they sit around in under a tree, under a bridge, and they wait for folks to come, foot traffic to pass. And there's a queuing system. So basically, everyone probably does at most maybe 3 orders a day during rush hour. And beyond that, they're not doing much. They're not very productive. Because now they were actually giving them orders across multiple different verticals. So they'll maybe drive somebody to work during morning rush hour, and then during that middle of the day, they'll be sending packages from merchants. They'll be sending lunch during lunch hours to the CBD. They'll be sending packages again in the afternoon, and then obviously towards the evening you have your evening rush hour and your evening dinner deliveries. So huge impact in terms of productivity, huge impact in terms of their daily income. We can share tons of crazy stories about drivers who now have savings, drivers who now have investments, drivers who started as a Gojek driver, saved up enough money over the years, and now they're a go-kart driver. So they've actually managed to move up in terms of their position in the economic pyramid. The last thing is just really about us really starting to use. We started as primarily an object transport company, but we're starting to see some interesting behavior in terms of, or interesting behavior and opportunities in terms of where our company can be as a platform. So, we started primarily doing object rides, and then the next thing that we tackled was actually food and groceries. And we realized that for every single person who is on a motorcycle, they can do multiple different jobs. They can't, when you think of, say, an Uber driver, they're primarily ferrying people around. But a person on a motorcycle can do much more than just bring people around. Packages, they can buy things for you. Right now, we can talk about it later, but they can actually be your financial services assistant even. But basically, somebody on a motorcycle is very mobile and very, very versatile, given the right software tools. So we figured out that actually we have a supply platform, right? We actually have a network of motorcycle drivers, and then that is a platform to layer on multiple different services. So we built out our supply platform that started off as purely transport and then sending goods and food. But then what we realized afterwards is once we built out the supply platform and a lot of people started using our services, we can actually build a platform on the demand side. So we have a lot of users. We have a very active user base and a very large user base. So we realized that actually the opportunities for us to get even deeper and provide even more services to our users made a lot of sense. So hence, the launching of all these multiple different products. So when we first launched, we had only 3 services. In January 2015, we had basically transport, we had send, which is package delivery, and then we had shop, which is buy something from me. And then now we have almost like, next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so the app kind of looks like this now, where we're in multiple different verticals. We have payments, we have ride, we have bike rides, we have car, we have package delivery, we have massage, we have clean, we have we have basically auto fixes and cleaning. We have medicine delivery. We have our own loyalty system called Go Points. We have GoMart, which is our grocery delivery service. We have food, box, which is point-to-point logistics using box trucks. WhatsApp, mobile recharge. Plan, which is on-demand musicians. Tickets, buying movie and event tickets. And finally, Busway, which is an integration we had with the local Jakarta transportation department to show basically bus times and book Gojek to get yourself to a bus station. So if you go to the previous slide, please. So this is just a little bit about that scale, right? Because how did we realize the opportunity as a platform? Because we managed to really, we had no idea that we would grow this quickly. So we launched in January 2015, doing about 10,000 orders per day. With just those kind of 3 services. And then basically within a year and a half, we're doing close to 20 million orders per day. We started off with about 200 drivers, 200, 300 drivers in Jakarta in January 2015. Within a year, we had about 200,000 drivers across about 10 to 12 different cities in Indonesia. So this type of growth is crazy, actually. Like we had no idea. When I was CFO, I was CFO for the company for the first, year plus. When I was CFO and I was doing the first financial model, for our investor pitch. You know, Nadeem and I said, okay, in a best case scenario, we're probably doing like 5,000 orders per day at the end of 2015. So 150,000 orders a month was like, okay, let's really shoot for this and sell these investors that we can do 5,000 orders per day.
Yeah, we can do it. I think we can hit 5,000. That was a big decision for us to commit to that.
Yeah. So
What it turned out to be.
I think at the end of it, we were doing probably like 400,000 orders per day. Yeah. In December, we had 400,000 orders per day. So this is kind of, and this story is crazy because we talked to a lot of investors that probably the only other part of the world where this type of growth is possible is China. And even in China, this growth is amazing. So for this to happen, of all places in Indonesia, is truly a crazy story. I mean, we had no idea. And I think the best, we just figured out, I mean, we're all winging it, for the lack of a better phrase. But I think the market it's the right time and it's the right product. Next slide. So this is just kind of where the platform is finally going. So all at the moment we have all kinds of products that we internally own. But in the future, in the very near future, we truly believe that the Gojek app is going to be a platform for other companies as well. So we have integrations with very big, the dominant e-commerce companies in Indonesia for logistics and student payment. And then we really believe that we will be the platform for the next generation of Indonesian technology companies to really gain access to a broad consumer base. And obviously facilitating digital payments, which is the key pain point today in the Indonesian startup ecosystem. And yeah, that's it.
So now you have an idea about our numbers, right? Just to give you some frame of context, right? Probably the largest e-commerce companies in Indonesia right now are doing about, I would guess, maximum 150,000 transactions a day. So Gojek is approaching 1 million transactions per day. Okay, so that just gives you some sense of scale. In other countries, it's always e-commerce that starts the biggest, right? So this is a very strange phenomenon in which you find in Indonesia. What is most broken is logistics, right? Infrastructure. Those are the things that make it that much bigger, not being able to shop online, right? These are immediate human needs, and they also represent the largest spend of the middle class, okay? When you guys are doing like business plans, etc., you know that there's always that chart on total addressable market, right? Gojek, basically, its biggest businesses are the things that the middle class spend the most on. In Indonesia, the number one thing you spend on, hands down, I don't care what class you're in, you can be middle class or upper class, it's food. Food is number one spend. Second, transport. Only then is housing, utilities, groceries, etc. So food, transport, and everything else. So basically, when we're talking about Gojek, we attack this largest media segment in Indonesia because the lower class will very quickly move higher and higher towards the middle class, and they will then get a smartphone. As soon as they get a smartphone, their way of accessing the digital world is through the Gojek app. Okay. People that didn't have a bank account, they're going to discover GoPay well before they discover a bank account, right? Oh, suddenly I can just give money over to my driver, and suddenly digital money appears on my app, and I can use it to shop online. I can use it to buy food. I can use it to transfer to my family in the village. I can use it to pay for my movie tickets, etc., which is what GoPay is going to be. So this is really why we keep saying platform, platform, platform. A lot of people see us, competing with Grab and Uber, but in reality, in many ways, we compete with them now in only one vertical, which is transportation. To be honest, we stop seeing ourselves as a ride-hailing app. We see ourselves as a window with which people will continue to access the digital world. So we take whatever's offline and make it easier for you to connect with it and transact on it online using this app. That is the basis. This is why in our new branding strategy, Gojek, that used to be an object for every need, we're going to change that tagline, and it's going to be hidup tanpa batas, hidup tanpa, life without limits, right? This is the concept, the very core of what makes Gojek so addictive, is because it basically empowers you. It's an extension of you in the world to get things faster, cheaper, and more delightful in a way that is more delightful, right? More convenient. So it's a huge utility tool. I hate the fact that GoFood doesn't exist in the US, by the way. I'm really confused. I've tried all the services, but for some reason, there is not one single food delivery app that gets me everything I want, right? It doesn't pick it for me. I want to pick what my food is, right? So it's a lot of these things that I think we're discovering from ground zero in Indonesia. So Gojek is a company that never should have been. Gojek, if you look at Gojek in the beginning, it's impossible. Like, how could you beat Grab when Grab had $250 million and we only had $2 million? And we went to battle and went. Like, how does that even compute? How does it even compute that Uber is the number 3 player, the only country in the world where Uber is the number 3 player? In Indonesia. That's because of Gojek, right? But it's improbable. This is the company that is built upon improbabilities. Okay? I can tell you that every disaster that a company can have, a startup can have, has already happened to Gojek. Okay? So if you want to go through it, we'll go through some of them now. The highlight reel. Okay? You name it. Losing people's stuff. Fatal accidents happening, right? With drivers, etc. You've got being banned by a ministry until it was reversed by the president 12 hours later. That was the worst and best day of my life. Actually, my wife would complain if I said that's the best day. My wedding also. Just in case she's watching. We have had, until Ajay came to save the day, we were about to, literally, our back-end infrastructure was about to explode. It's about to explode. We're about to die, technically. Because no company would ever predict getting, 10 million downloads in the first 6 months. Like, no one gets that. We have had, every time we change pricing, we have driver demonstrations nationwide. We have a $70 billion company gunning for our sector and replicating what we do now. Uber's copying us now. They're doing bikes, they're going food, they're going, so it's a highly challenging game that we're playing, a global game. But at the same time, Gojek stays and remains on top. And now Gojek's about to dominate payments as well. So how did this happen, right? This is an important part of our founding journey that I think we should share, because how I think this happened is what makes Gojek so special. Okay. Number one, Gojek understands the value of luck and timing. This is something that a lot of founders like to come up on these stages and tell you a bunch of horse crap about how they got success because of that, and how good they are, how amazing they are. Now, this is simply not true. Okay. Luck and timing is one of the best allies you can have in a business. Any experienced businessman will tell you this. Okay. Some of them who just got big or something might want to attribute all of that to themselves, but it's not true. Gojek is a timing expert. Okay. We, because we're out technologized by Uber, out-funded by some of these bigger guys, we out-tactician them. Okay. We are all about understanding the consumer so well that we know when and how to release a new product, and when, more importantly, when. So the sequence by which, as you can see, the sequence by which we built this platform was a highly well thought out strategy that took into account various things that we had no control. Smartphone penetration, congestion problem in Indonesia, our jet versus cars, what's bigger in the market. These are little things that we did that basically, when we hit this luck spurt, when we hit this wave spurt, we rode it like a pro. We were very good at doing that. I think that's the first thing. It's very important. And because of that, Gojek as a team is never complacent. Because we know that we got the timing right, we can never think of ourselves as invincible. Gojek constantly thinks about ways that we can die. It's something that we're extremely comfortable with now. We always talk about how do we die. This is how we die. And because of this mindset, every bad thing that can happen to us has already been planned out. If you look at this from a business perspective, investing in Gojek has now been significantly de-risked because you're essentially investing in 8 to 10 different companies, all leader companies that are basically, even if one of them are the ones that hit big, it's already a good return. But Gojek wants to actually take over most of these verticals outside of e-commerce. So I think that's the first thing. Number 2 is hyper-diversification. Hyper-diversification basically has enabled us to escape competition in a very powerful way. Okay? We got lucky in the sense that we picked motorcycles. What happened when we picked motorcycles, we realized that a motorcycle had so much better value and unit economics to a car and could extend us into logistics, could extend us into food delivery, and could extend us in a variety of payment businesses that we will roll out. So that was really the key part. Diversifying very quickly, but keeping focus on Indonesia. Right? Everyone keeps asking me, like, why aren't you expanding to Southeast Asia? Why aren't you going and conquering the world? And I'm like, I think every founder is faced with a choice. And the choice is you either do one thing really well across multiple geographies, or you do everything, you dominate most verticals in a single country. And so Gojek has today made the decision that because so much about who we are is about Indonesia, that we're going to stay in Indonesia, and we're going to defend this territory like crazy so that we buy everyone else time. And so that all these local startups can come and work and collaborate with us, etc. And actually, we create some cushioning and hopefully still inspire the young generation to keep creating. Because if Gojek does not win Indonesia, this is going to be a huge blow to all the local startups. Right? It's going to be a huge blow. They're going to be like, why bother doing e-commerce? Amazon's going to come anyway. Right? It's this kind of mindset which I'm very, very scared of in Indonesia. And we want to prove those pessimists wrong. Okay? Third thing, team and purpose. Everyone joins Gojek not for the money. Most people come into Gojek with pay cuts, significant pay cuts. Ajay, what was your pay cut? What percent? 50%. 50% pay cut. People join Gojek because they want to do something big. When people join a company just because they want to make money, as the first signs of trouble, they will leave. First sign of trouble, they will leave or cause mayhem or cause issues and then eventually leave. People join Gojek because of a deeper purpose. Some people related to their national pride, they want to build Indonesia. Some people are related to product obsession, like they want to build something fundamentally new and unique because no one in the world has done what Gojek has done, combining all these verticals. Some of the people are driven by sheer curiosity. Sheer curiosity in the sense that, what else can we delimit? What else can we make limitless? And that curiosity and that passion for your work, that obsession, whatever it is one of the common characteristics of Gojek's top management. And I mean top management all the way to even junior managers. Yeah. I mean the whole management group. This is such an important trait that has kept us on track and on board and being able to roll out so many different products without much churn. People don't really leave Gojek unless you're asked to leave, right? There's very few people who actually left voluntarily out of Gojek because what they're doing is just so massive, in such a massive scale. I think that's another thing that separates us. And I think the fourth is also, and this is what was mentioned, I think, in the beginning, is the brand. This is something we don't truly understand, to be honest. I don't understand how the Gojek brand became so strong. I don't understand. It is one of the most powerful, and we've done objective branding studies here. The word Gojek in Hajat is used, I don't know how many of you guys have gone home recently, but Gojek in Hajat, it's literally one of the highest used verbs in at least in Jakarta life that I can think of. The other cities are rapidly using this term as well. And so, you know, I've even heard people use Gojek in Hajat to describe actions on a competing app. Okay. So it's like, it's almost a blanket term sometimes. This is just like you're at a Gojek Hajat. So that strength of brand is something that's going to be very hard to dethrone, right? Even with a lot of foreign competition, it's so hard to take out a brand that is already melekat ke hati konsumen. And I think that is an intangible thing I can't quantify. I don't know how to quantify that. Sure, there are retention numbers, KPIs, but your emotional connection to an app, yes, actually, it's an emotional connection to an app, actually, especially Gojek app. There's bad side of that too. When it doesn't work, people get really angry. Right? It's a double-edged sword. But that emotional connection to the app is something money can't buy. We don't exactly know how it came to be. It just is. It's a very, very strong brand. And I think having the uniforms out there in every street corner doesn't hurt either, right? It's one of the biggest, highest brand awareness products I've ever seen. So that's, in 2 years, we were able to transport more people than busway. This is how we did it, with a huge amount of customer obsession, huge amount of teamwork, an understanding of external forces that we can and cannot control, right? And the authenticity to our work and to the purpose of what makes us Gojek employees. I think that's really what makes us stand apart. And it's national pride as well. It's pretty cool to be the first unicorn in Indonesia. You know, it feels good as an Indonesian, not as a Gojek employee. It feels good as an Indonesian. Yeah, we can do it too. You know, so we're not just constantly in fear of these big players. I guess that would be my brief intro about who we are and how we got here. I can also discuss a little bit more about our strategy per se, the meta strategy, but I don't know how deep you guys want to go. I might leave that for the Q&A. But now I'm going to pass it on to Ajay to describe a little bit about the engineering culture in Gojek, right? The most important organization in the company, actually, given because we're a tech company essentially, right? And how it relates to the other functions in Gojek.
How many engineering and product people are here? Raise your hand.
Can you raise your hand?
Awesome.
Awesome. So I can afford to make other people to see. Okay, few things. So here we talk about numbers which we are able to business. I am here to give you some details of the numbers which are able to tech, which excites you in terms of tech, right? One of the biggest numbers which we have, which kind of mind boggles a lot of people, and what we have done in the last 8 to 10 months. First thing, like we haven't seen people or companies launching like 16, 18 products in 8 to 9 months. While they had $2 million to ban, I had only 40 engineers to train at one point of time. And that's how we started. On an average, we have 2.5 engineers per service, which is like India's number. We are going there. On terms of tech stack and everything else, one of the biggest numbers I want to show you or tell you is 30 million API calls per second. If you're an engineer, you know how much it is. 30. So we do 30 million API calls per second internally. We operate around 1,500 machines. around 200,000 workers in our teams, and we process around 1.5 billion events per day, which is about you do anything on the Gojek app, we know that. Where you click, from where you want to go where, how do we auto guess what's your destination tomorrow morning. So we do a lot of smart things. So when you open your app and the model will tell you where you want to go and you can choose an option. It is not like you actually filter things. It's more around what time of day you are trying to go somewhere, which day it is. It is morning or in the evening, it is Saturday or Sunday or weekday. Those kind of things, right? So to build this, how do you build this, right? How do you build this kind of stack? So one of the major things which Gojek engineering has as a culture is freedom. If we don't give freedom to people to experiment, freedom to people to move around, freedom to people to do things on their own, we will not achieve this. If we tie people to KPIs and their deliverables, we will not be able to get this thing. So one of the things we do is freedom. So how do we do it? So what we say is we don't have project managers, we don't have managers. What we have is we have product managers. So product managers are there to manage product, engineers are there to deliver product. There's nobody to manage engineers. So if we hire smart people, we should tell them what needs to be done. We should never tell them how it needs to be done. Because if they can't figure out how, then we hire somebody wrong. Correct? So product guys know how to build a product. Engineers know how to deliver a product. And that's how we work together. Our teams are very loosely coupled. We have, on average, the maximum team size has been 5. We don't have any engineering teams is more than 5. Because we work on a lot of microservices. So all these 14, 15 front-facing products which we have are supported by around 92 microservices behind the scene. The reason we have so many microservices is because when you build a platform, you need an interoperable generic services. That means my ride platform is built on motorcycle allocation, motorcycle ride, should be able to support my courier, my food delivery, my mart delivery, whatever you want. So they are generic pluggable modules. When you build these kind of modules, you need a lot of thought process which is very frequent. So at the end, it kind of comes to 3 principles which we actually deal in Gojek engineering. One, we say everybody writes code. How much senior you are in Gojek, you have to write code. There are no code reviews. I don't know how many of you actually get your code reviews done, or how many of you people do code reviews in your companies? A lot of you. You don't have to do that in Gojek. What we do is we make you pay a
Guy over there is fun.
Yeah. So we make you work with a peer every time, every day. So either you're working with somebody little bit junior to you, or you're working with somebody little bit senior to you. If you're working with somebody little bit senior to you, you're learning from him, and your code is getting reviewed. If you're working with a little bit junior to you, you're teaching him, and you're doing his code. So in both cases, you're getting better. Teaching is always getting better, and learning is always getting better. In both cases, you're getting better. First thing is that. So even I write code. I don't write code 100% of time because I have to reply to a bunch of emails from my group and everybody else. But when I'm not writing emails, I'm writing code. Second thing, we believe leaders are grown and not made. That means, our tech lead, our junior most tech lead, how old is he? 24. And our senior most tech lead is a 35. So, and the 24 years tech lead has a 28, 29 years old guy working with you. Because nobody works for anybody. Everybody works with you. So once you have that thought process, then it's more around responsibility and accountability. So that is second thing. Third thing which is very important is everybody has complementing skill. Not everybody is super sharp and doing something amazing. Unless you have complementing skill in your team and you don't recognize them, it's bad for you. So everybody is encouraged to leverage the skills they don't have and otherwise them. Few people are logical, few people are analytical, few people are like thorough in terms of processes, people are like not very tidy, right? But each one of them have their own advantages. If you're a hacker kind of guy, you get a good solution, it's helpful. But the logical guy who's thinking and sitting next to him will make it better, right? So that is what we do. So those are the three resources that will keep us going. In terms of practices and engineering things, we are pretty flat in terms of what we do, in terms of coding and product and whatever it is. In terms of taking us to next level, we are now moving from throwing more questions at the problem. So you can scale as much with the throwing more questions at the problem, right? At some point of time, you have to become smart. So now, when we started 10 months back, Gojek was to solve the problem by throwing more machines at the problem. But we don't have more machines and we don't have more engineers anymore. What we have more solutions. So we have moved from there, and now we are trying to learn. Like what is, so you can actually look at this. Suppose you have one driver, or one customer, and 10 drivers around him. You can actually choose one driver, and he may not be willing to go there. But the smart solution will be to actually figure out which driver will actually take this customer somewhere, or which driver will actually take this food order. So if you have willing driver, if you can figure out that this is a willing driver, then you'll be very, very happy, and your customers will be very, very happy. So that way, now we are moving towards machine learning, we are moving towards AI, we are moving towards customer behavior, we are moving towards driver behavior. So Gojek is now moving from throwing more hardware to throwing more brains, and that's where we are. And the good part about us, we are still very small. We are still 160 people, and we are still growing. But I don't think that at any point of time, Gojek engineering will be more than 50 people. So, but that's how Gojek is. And that's how I believe Gojek will continue to be.
We're about to head into Q&A, but I think just want to make a few closing statements on kind of wrap it up. I think particularly when it comes to the subject of why now and why you guys. I think one of the things that we're very proud of at the company, especially well, I mean, obviously engineering in India is its own entity, but for me personally, as an Indonesian, to see that I think everyone here who's going to schools here or are working at companies here, definitely have the preconception, just to different levels of the quality of people that you work with or you can hire in Indonesia. And usually those preconceptions are not very good. There's always this belief that there's this huge gap in quality of talent. And there is a lot of reasons why, there are a lot of valid reasons why to believe that. But when we look at the team that we've built in Indonesia, I really think that we have the best people in Indonesia. We have the best and brightest young talent in Indonesia, and we really hope we really know that you guys are part of that cohort. We would love to kind of have you guys on board as well. And I think that Indonesian tech right now is at a stage where it's a very pivotal stage. So if you look at China today, where all the top companies are being formed, a lot of them came out of the original big three, which is Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba. So then now we have the second generation of founders coming out, the second generation of companies coming out in China. And obviously China has a very vibrant technology ecosystem. We really think that Indonesia can be one of the next ones. But we're at a pivotal moment right now where if companies like ourselves, like say Traveloka, Tokopedia, and maybe some of the other big ones fail, then Indonesia will probably be forever just a market for other companies to expand. We will not have a vibrant technology ecosystem of homegrown founders and companies. So it's a really pivotal moment, I would say, in the development of the technology industry in Indonesia. And it's people like you guys that we hope to bring back to really kind of build the future of technology in Indonesia.
I think, to kind of round out why Indonesia, why Gojek, why now, I'd like to first talk about just Indonesia for a bit, right? If you're in the technology sector, or you're fascinated with technology, or are considering a startup, etc., Indonesia is arguably the best country to be in right now. And this is, I didn't say this first, actually the Indians said it first.
That's why I meant it, right? Like, so that's true. It's true. One of the things which we are doing in Indonesia, actually we are doing first time. We are attempting to solve some problems which has not been faced by any HR until now. Like creating a platform, like people. So I want to say one thing. So you go to VCs, they always say do one thing and one thing right. You know what we did? We did one thing, just creating a platform. And then we did it right, which is ready for us. But if you do one product, it's not fun. It's building a platform is not better. And creating a complex platform like Gojek is a good challenge.
We don't have role models because no one's ever been here before. So it's extremely, completely new science that we have to somehow crack, right? That's exciting. It's scary, but that's exciting. But I think why Indonesia, it's the right time. It's now suddenly we have an extremely competent administration. The president is quite powerful right now because he's got support from parliament, etc. There's obviously politicking, as you've already seen in Indonesia, but Indonesia has become the most politically, ironically, the most politically stable economy in Southeast Asia right now, right? Versus everyone else. And so the strong growth rate, etc. Indonesia is the next economic superpower. It's not Brazil. It's definitely not Russia, right? It's Indonesia. So from that sense, business in general, Indonesia for sure, top choice in the world. Not even for an Indonesian, for anyone coming in. It's actually easy to do business there. There's not that much competition, for certain products. So it's a good place. Why Gojek? Because Gojek's, to be honest, Gojek is a dream company for an engineer, for a data scientist, for an engineer, or for a product manager. It's because the menu is so big, right? That's why GoFood is so effective. There's so many restaurants available. That's why Gojek has such great talent and engineers, is because there's so much to choose from. What do you want? Is your passion food? Okay, you can do GoFood. Is your passion payments? You can work on GoPay. Is your passion more ad tech? Okay, you can work on GoPoints, marketing and loyalty. You want to do design? Okay, design for what product? There's a million different things you can do internally within the company. And I can assure you, this is one of IJ's core principles, people rotate all the time. Okay, you come in, this is one of the toughest things is engineers, senior engineers who come in with already a mindset. I am an Android developer and I don't do anything else. I only want to do Android. You can't survive in Gojek with that mindset. We'll take you out of the Android team, throw you into core backend and see if you swim. It's true. We do that all the time. And then they'll come back to me and say, oh my God, now I understand the Android so much better because all the bull crap happens at the end, right? And so it's that full stack mentality. It's not just with engineers, it's with all of our talent. You rotate out. You don't like what you're doing right now? Rotate out. Go. Where do you want to go? We call it My Gojek. The concept is My Gojek. Because it's your project, you decide where you want to contribute. And that freedom is something that we realize makes people very, very successful in their role. The other concept about earned leadership, I want to make this point a little bit even deeper, is because we don't care how old you are. Once you're in, we do care about your experience when we recruit you, but once you're in Gojek, we don't care anymore. From then onwards, your performance speaks for itself. Because nothing in Gojek can be done individually. Everything are based on team output, right? When someone gets mad, when I get mad in Gojek, I get mad at a team. I never get mad at an individual, right? I get mad at a team or I compliment the team, same thing. The team is the central unit of Gojek's organization. If you cannot work in a team, this is not the company for you. And there's been many, many very smart people who have left Gojek simply because they're not team players. And that's something you just won't survive, right? Another reason why Gojek, the final reason why Gojek is just the sheer scale. Now, joining Gojek is not for the faint-hearted. You make one wrong move in the GoFood CMS and suddenly millions of people can't eat. You make one wrong move on the driver app, and suddenly 100,000 drivers cannot make income. The scale of the growth is just as big as the scale of the failure. So that's the thing, right? In Gojek, you gotta be muka tebal ya, muka tebal harus bisa tahan banting, because if you don't take risks, you'll never get anywhere. And the only way to comfortably take risks are if you believe that, it's okay to fail once in a while. It's okay, it happens all the time. But you have to be a risk-taking, even engineer in Gojek for you to succeed, because otherwise it will never push the boundaries. Okay, so that's another thing that I think makes Gojek quite exciting for people, but also quite scary for other people.
So, how much is the uptime for currently the SLA uptime of maintenance services? How much? Do you understand uptime SLA, 99 point, how much is usually people commit? 6 lines. We actually kind of do that. We went out 7 hours in 2016. 3 lines is around 24, 65, 26 hours. Yeah, we did kind of that. So that's how we are, because we can't go down. If we do go down, we impact lots of drivers, a lot of customers. We lot of our revenue as well. We don't go down. And one of the things which we do is building that resilient system is another aspect of the whole automation and building the system up and making it feel safe. All that stuff. There's another tech all the way. If you look at from that point.
Yeah, if we go down, Jakarta literally grinds to a halt. Right? It's like a. So in many ways, the pressure for us is not only like having to grow the business, but this is a public service. So imagine that's how we view our service. It's so ingrained in your daily lives that you have to be on all the time, right? And then the final reason why Indonesia and why Gojek is, of course, yes, Gojek is one of the few players that are competitive compensation, right? And in case you guys haven't asked anyone that works in Gojek, we're also, especially at a more senior level, we're also quite generous with options. Okay? Because we want people to be there not for the easy money, we want people to be there for the big payoff at the end, right? That's a big part of what makes us, makes our guys stay in for the long term. So the compensation is pretty good, at least for Indonesian standards. As you know, standard of living in Indonesia, the cost of living is about, I would say, a fifth of the SF. Yeah, roughly.
Well, for rent, like probably even
all in, right? All in, about a fifth. Yeah. So Jakarta's not cheap if you like to eat out in fancy places, but it's way cheaper. Like you can get a beautiful place for like $900 a month. I don't think any place in SF goes for that, right? Right? You get a closet. They don't have closets here. So the life, in case you guys forgot, right? Salaries there and salaries here, you really have to take into consideration the cost of living. It's actually, you can live much more luxurious life in Indonesia with a lot less, right? I think we should remind ourselves that. But also, the final thing is option value. Option value. The next 5 years will determine who are the leaders of this industry. The next 5 years, if you want to be a leader in the tech industry in Indonesia, you have to jump now. Now's the time. It's a sweet spot. There's a lot of funding, there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of development. So even if you come back and you work for Gojek and you hate it, you hate us. My criteria of success is you come home, number one, I've succeeded in doing that. Number two, you either join another tech startup or you start your own. Either of those options, I'm happy. But the point is, really the question you need to ask yourself is, what do I want to do with my life? Okay? if you are not very attracted to intensity and large things and roller coaster kind of experiences, then I believe that staying here in the valley, etc., is probably a much better option. If you feel like I just want to be good at what I am doing right now and I want to be comfortable, etc., Silicon Valley is a great place to be, great place to go and raise your kid and everything like that. And you'll learn so much from the talent pool here. But if you want to be a leader, and I mean industry leaders, in whatever field you are in the tech industry, moving to Indonesia now is almost for sure the best decision you can make. Because in the next 5 years, all of these key verticals and spots will already be taken. Everyone will already have their big ones, and then it becomes a little bit more of a conventional industry where you have to get hired, move up the ranks, etc. But if you move now, whatever it is you do, whether you succeed in Gojek or in another startup or in your own startup, in the next 5 years, you will have a shot at making it to the big leagues by basically being a true leader of industry that everyone knows, respects, and true innovator in your space. So the window is closing to do that. There are a lot of smart kids at home right now gunning for these positions, right? Or local grads, they didn't have a chance to work outside, but they're gunning for it. And so when I see the people who are working here, who have the knowledge base, who have the tech deep expertise, that in many ways has a huge advantage over their local peers. For me, it's super gemes for me not to see you guys come back. It is, I get it, the life is comfortable here, it's beautiful, I love walking around here, you know? I love being able to walk, you know? That alone is great. I love the seasons, I love the culture of that. Exactly, that's why we love Gojek, right? You can't walk in there. But I get it, but the question is, then comes down to how bad do you want to do something at scale, big things. Unfortunately, it's quite tough to do big things here, right? It is. Let's just call it what it is. It's tougher. It's tougher, right? There's a lot of competition. Markets are established. Companies are quite saturated in their services, right? There's basically no fintech innovation in the US right now because everyone's got a credit card, right? There's very little fintech. Okay, great. Venmo, split a bill. You know, like the deep innovations that are going to happen in technology all come from the developing world. Because the bigger the problem, the more exciting the solution. So you have to go to where the problems are, right? You have to go to where the problems are to get the biggest opportunities. Gojek got this big because it tried to solve the most painful and complex problem that we were facing in Indonesia at the time. Whenever people come up to me with a startup idea, they always start with a solution. Oh, Nadeem, I got this cool new idea for this juicer, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what problem are you trying to solve? You have to solve a big, complicated problem that not many people want to solve. If you are solving something that everyone else can solve easily, then it's not a big opportunity. And so that's the mindset. If you have that mindset, if you want to solve super hard stuff, you gotta come back home because there's a lot of stuff to fix. Okay, thank you. So I think now we're gonna give it to the floor to ask questions. Now, please understand you can ask us any question. You can ask us a work-related question. You can ask us a personal question. You can ask us numbers. We may decide not to reveal all the personal questions. Yeah. But please ask us very upfront questions. We're extremely open about most things. So please try to ask us difficult questions. We prefer difficult questions to easy questions. So feel free. Who's up?
To start the Q&A session, we'll be having a 30-minute Q&A session. We'll be switching from the right side of the place and to the left. Each side goes one by one. And before starting them all, I would like to personally ask a question. What kind of end products?
We didn't get in front of the line here.
what kind of end products do you expect future engineers from the Bay to deliver, assuming that we're going pulang kampung and work at Gojek? And do you expect a much more beautiful UI or a better UX? Or do you want people who are fond of hard mathematics to develop dynamic dispatch positions, demand predictions, logistic modelings? If you could give us a number on which kind of engineers would you like? All of the above.
Okay, this is multiple choice question or the options? What is multiple?
All of the above. That's the answer.
Oh, okay. It actually really is the answer.
It's literally the answer.
Okay, so what do you expect from us from the next 2 or 3 years, or the graduates here, towards your expansion? Like, which areas would you like us to study? Which classes would you like to take? Is it metadata, AI?
Why don't I use my analogy before, and instead of telling you what people are going to be building, I'll tell you what problems people are going to be solving, right? We don't see products as product. Product is just the solution to a problem, okay? So, huge, I have 4 mega problems right now, okay? 4 mega problems. Problem number 1, how do you create a better and stickier user retention on transportation platform versus competition? That is a huge problem to solve. It has to do with application, it has to do with creating data science around driver affinity and willingness to take orders. Our drivers now have to pick between a range of services and have them only go food. Guys who like go food, give go food. Guys who like go mart, give them go mart. If they don't like to take orders during rain, we have to take that into consideration. You name it. It's a complete human psychology data science around the driver's willingness to take an order and around the consumer's ability and willingness to book an order. This is one of the most complicated problems I've ever seen. Mathematically or tech, regardless, it's a super complex problem. Okay, there's so many. There are how many products working on this problem right now? Probably like about 20 micro products working on it. So it's a deep one. Number 2, problem number 2. How do you create the world's first completely assetless logistics company? How do you create a FedEx or a DHL out of the cloud without a single asset? That's a super cool problem to solve. Imagine having the largest logistics player in Indonesia be a software. How cool is that? It's just running around, telling vehicles to go from A to B in this beautiful dance of allocation. From e-commerce to Sabang to Merauke, it gets there in one day. How did it get there? Software, bro. That's freaking cool. Okay? That's problem number 2. Problem number 3. How can you take 100% of the food market, 100% of your food consumption on our platform? That's the problem. How do I get everything you eat in your stomach to be transacted and delighted through this platform? Your entire food experience on GoFood, the social, the discovery, the repeat order, the vouchering, the behavior, the reservations, how to get there, how do you rank dishes between each other, how you choose to pay seamlessly, offline and online. It's amazing. Then the final problem, how do you get the rest 100 million Indonesians access to financial services? That's the biggest one, to be honest. GoPay. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but GoPay is going to be the biggest product in Gojek. It already kind of is, yeah? So don't forget that no one ever calls us that. At all these fintech conferences, we never get mentioned. I'm like, bro, we're the largest fintech company in Indonesia right now, and no one ever mentions us because our symbol is a motorcycle, right? We are, GoPay is going to empower every single driver to receive cash-in payments for anything in their communities. They're going to be tokoh-tokoh masyarakat, where you can buy your pulsa, bayar cicilan motor, top up GoPay, you can bayar asuransi, bayar apapun, transfer uang. The Gojek driver, these 200,000 drivers nationwide are going to become social figures where you come to their house to transact and do all your financial services. Because we have an e-money license. GoPay is going to hit all the e-commerce sites and all the micro merchants selling stuff on Instagram, Facebook, etc. Because it's so easy. It's so easy. You just have to know someone's phone number, so you just transfer. What's your GoPay? I already know my GoPay. Here, transfer. Right? You can withdraw at any place. GoPay will become the primary mode between the pemilik rumah tangga giving GoPay credit to the pembantu, to the driver, to the tukang kebun, and have them send money to their families in the village, all free. It will change everything. It will be the first digital wallet for most of the population of Indonesia. And you think about all the downstream businesses from there, you talk about products. Everything, you name it, it's not just a wallet. It's the AI, it's the credit score, it's the ability to help banks, distribute microloans, etc. Investment products, insurance. Basically, the universal rights of a middle class, right? We're pushing it down the pyramid so that everyone in Indonesia has a chance. That's the key. Everyone needs to have a shot, a fair shot. And this is not a secret, this is something I fundamentally believe. The quickest way of helping the country, the fastest way of helping the economy is through technology. It really is. You can't wait till political situation reaches maturity. You can't wait till all of you guys become president and minister. You can't wait that long. Tech has to carry this burden now and fix stuff. So that's the menu there. It's a huge menu. Gojek, the problem is not what to do. Our biggest problem is what not to do. So one thing we've decided not to do is e-commerce, right? It doesn't make sense for us to jump into this war of e-commerce when actually Gojek has two of the things that e-commerce needs most. Number one is logistics, number two is payments. So we just supply to the war of the factions. We're like an arms dealer. Just distribute. You guys do get out between you. So we will supply them with the best in class payment and logistics solutions. I think we're on that side now. And then I'll get back to you. But no one's asking that.
Oh, that's interesting.
The jacket, yes.
Yeah. So you guys had like a huge increase in usage. Hi, again. You guys had a huge increase in usage within like the 1 year span, and you were talking about some of your scalability issues. What did you guys do to overcome that? I'm really focused on Ajay because you said you're not going to say it.
Okay. Okay. So there is no skill button. I don't have that. But there are a bunch of things you have approached. So in terms of computer science, the scalability is how busy your computer system is, right? And in terms of the computer itself, the virtual machine or whatever CPU, whatever you call it, its ability is to how many threads it can, right? So given these two, that you have finite resources on computer and then you have finite resources on threads, one of the things which you do, how quickly can you free up a thread, right? And there are multiple approaches to that. The first approach is always add more and more VMs. That's what we did first. Second was decentralize the processes. And third, where we are right now, is asynchronous processing. So that's how we came this far. So first, June 2015 to December 2015 was throwing more hardware and distributing the services. From January 2016 to around October 2016 was decoupling services, a lot of them, and waiting for creating more and more microservices. So when we are in June, we were around like five machines and 2 services. And by January 2016, we reached around 63 microservices. And now we are at 92. So it's more around going from throwing more hardware to throwing more services to now making more asynchronous stuff. So now we do things like event-based processing, we do stream processing, we also do callback processing, all that stuff. So now we do way more different kind of Does that answer your question?
Awesome. Yes. Yeah.
Hi. Two things. First one is it's amazing to realize that you guys only been around for 2 years. Seems like I didn't know you guys before. I went back to Indonesia, last year and used your service a lot. It's very good.
We've been around for 6 years, but the app has only been around for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So before that, you might have seen our crappier jacket guys. Buat pesanan kurir ibu aja. Call center doang.
But not until last year I actually used the service.
Yes.
I heard about you guys a while back.
Yes.
Secondly, can you tell us a bit more about the care program that you have in your company? Because it's relatively new, so thank you and the value, And how do you have to be like?
It's not very new. It's very old. So I know that you know something about SP programming. So Agile has two processes. One is called SP, second is called Scrum. A lot of people do a Scrum, they follow Scrum, and they don't follow SP. I come from a company called Funworks. I don't know how many of you know a guy called Martin Fowler of Kent. So Martin was my colleague at one point of time. Yes, I paired program with Martin. Long time. So that's where when the Agile Manifesto was signed in 1996-97, pair programming will be one of the pillars over there. So basically, you actually have 4 pairing hours. Those are like 6 or 4 pairing hours. And you don't do pair programming all the time, but you do around 4 to 6 hours. And when you do that, you actually switch off your social media, you switch off your Twitter, you switch off your Facebook, you switch off everything, right? And then turn by turn, you take charge of keyboard and mouse. Not the mouse, but only keyboard. And whether you are in Vim or in Max, doesn't matter. Like few people go to Indonesia or Eclipse because they want to write code in Java and JavaScript course. But apart from that, the way it works is like you think and somebody will pair writes, and pair things and you write code and you just go through the whole thing. But you write test before you write the code. So the way you do is this. You say, I want to achieve this. I want to allow user to log in. Right? Once you say I want to allow user to log in, you define some acceptance criteria. You say when user puts right username and puts right password, user should be logged in. So you are defining a behavior by the system. Right? So you write a test for that. And then you implement the function which will actually allow you to log in. Then you define different behaviors saying when user logs in the username but incorrect password should not be logged in. And you test that as well. And that's how you go on doing unit testing. So first you do BAD, then you do BAD, and then you do integration test, and you do CI. But that's how you drive your coding system. So it's pretty old. It's like 23, 24 years old.
Well, I guess personally, I just heard about it
because Agile came to mainstream around 2011, especially when continuous delivery kind of things came up. So continuous delivery is written by a guy called Jeff Humber, who used to work with us for a long time. So when continuous integration came out, continuous delivery came out, and other people started Pivotal and Square and Git, the kind of companies who started adopting it. Then pair programming became more and more popular because people figured out that putting a review cycle and QA cycle and debug cycle later on is better to actually invest 2 people's time in writing code upfront so you can save a lot of bugs and QA sessions later on. So it kind of works, but it doesn't seem like giving immediate results immediately. But if you do pair programming enough, then you will see the repeat bugs are very, very low over the period of time.
Thank you.
I thought we were supposed to switch.
Back there.
No one.
Back there.
Hi. So my question is, what do you think are some of the challenges that foreign VC firms would have to face if they would like to first enter the Indonesian tech industry and would like to invest in Indonesian startups? So what are the challenges that they need to know if they would like to enter the Indonesian tech industry? Thank you.
Wait from a VC.
No.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
he would have had different concepts, he would have different policy.
So the question is it a question like what should VCs watch out for in Indonesia, or what is it right now? Are you asking me what their views of Indonesia are right now, or what I would do to advise them?
What do you do to advise them?
Stop funding dumb stuff.
Yeah, I
There's
found
a lot of dumb stuff getting funded right now, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, actually, Nadeem, today afternoon, when he asked me a question, here, this guy is getting funded, what is your thought process? And I said, I'm sad. Then Nadeem said, why you're sad? Because somebody invested in them, and it's not the right fruitful.
Yeah.
So funding young people, really good.
It's not somebody, it's not really dumb people, it's dumb projects. There's no such thing as dumb people, they're all super smart. It's just, I would tell them to invest less in undifferentiated concepts. Undifferentiated concepts are the first to die. These are usually concepts where they see something work somewhere else, and they're like, oh, okay, there's only 2 or 3 other players here, I'm just gonna do it, right? Because it worked somewhere in India, or it worked in China. Those don't last. People, the ones that last are the ones that truly were trying to solve a fundamental problem locally. Have you guys not noticed this, that all the big locally founded companies in Indonesia, actually the biggest companies in Indonesia are locally founded, right? Traveloka, Tokopedia, Gojek, these are all locally founded, founder-centered, founding team-centered companies. Have you noticed that no other big companies and their startup projects have been successful? It's hard because it's all driven by founders solving problems. And so my advice to VCs will always be find the right founder. Right founders will always find a way. And that's why there aren't enough of them. This is why VCs have so much excess money to get right now in Indonesia. They're just throwing it at stupid crap. Because they're like, oh God, Indonesia, something will hit. It's so hot. It's so hot right now in Indonesia. You can raise money out of any idea right now. But I would advise them to be more selective and select the founder, not necessarily the business. The business is irrelevant. A good founder will always find a way out. Always the case. By the way, Gojek now does angel investing. Yeah, so we're seeding companies. Right? We haven't announced them yet, but yeah, we've already started. I mean, we bought 4 companies in India, right? We hired 4 companies in India. Now we're going elsewhere in Indonesia and beyond Indonesia. Like, there was a cool company somewhere in East Asia that we're thinking about as well. So all these cool niche technology companies that can help us, but also be successful in their own, we've started angel investing. And for us, it's all about founder.
Yeah, I don't think the VC space is that, either foreign or local is that problematic actually in Asia. I would say it's more on the founder side that I think requires a lot more development and needs a lot more. Well, frankly, there's just not enough good founding teams right now in Indonesia. There's definitely more money than companies at the moment. So I don't think VCs are an issue. I think it's mostly just finding the right people, as you mentioned.
It's a problem when the VC knows more about your business than you do as a founder. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in Indonesia, where the VCs are basically coaching them on their own business. That's not cool. Like, you need to know your business better than the VC. The VC then adds nuance and insight. But if the VC is basically tutoring you, it's a problem, right? Yes.
Oh, hello. I just would like to ask about sustainability in the new technology industry in Indonesia, like Gojek and other startups and e-commerce, in comparison with how backward or far behind the way the regulator developed, like you have experienced. Luckily, it was a COVID over, right? So how you overcome this kind of challenges? Because they can do whatever they want, but because we know how backward they are. So I would like to ask you about sustainability of your industry. Thank you.
So I think the first thing to say is that the Indonesia today, the government today, is a very different government than what it was before. This is genuine because we are actually interact with the government all the time. This is not me giving good PR for the president, etc. I'm displaying it as it is. Currently, the Bank of Indonesia's main objective is actually financial inclusion and digitizing cash. That's actually the objective of the Bank of Indonesia. Those are their two missions: kill cash, cashless economy, right? So it can help tax, it can help visibility, it can help access to financial services and financial inclusion to bring people into the financial sector. And the only way to do that is through digitizing it. That's the fastest way. So for the first time ever, for example, GoPay and BI, Bank of Indonesia's aspiration is the same. It's the same. So it's a very special moment now between government and tech. Now, obviously the government won't come in and stop foreign competition from coming in, right? This is an open market. We're not as lucky as China's player got when the government protected, but we don't expect that the government to do that. What we do hope is that this relationship becomes far closer. So Gojek is not only helping to achieve that mission of Bank of Indonesia, we're actively working with Bank of Indonesia to create regulatory frameworks. Yeah, of course, we work with the variety of sectors of the government to create regulatory frameworks. Of course, there will always be some friction with people who are trying to defend present interests, right? The only reason everything hits a regulatory hump is if it hurts someone's bank account, all right? Traditional business, etc. Like that. Let's call it what it is. Yeah, it's always the only thing that will stop technology is the backlash of traditional sectors. Right? And if those sectors have strong lobbies, yeah, it could cause trouble. It could cause trouble. But you know what? I think Gojek has proven again and again that in a democracy, influence is defined primarily through public opinion. And that is a very powerful, it can be a scary force, but it's also a very powerful force when 35% of Android users and 75% of iOS users nationwide use our service, when basically underemployment in Jakarta has been solved because of our industry. This is what BPS recently came out with the statistics that said the cause why unemployment in Jakarta is going down, whereas everywhere else in Indonesia is going up, is because of the density of object dealing apps. That's basically actually. So when you reach that level of saturation, when your product and your suppliers reach that product, so now all of us drivers of app-based transportation outnumber taxis like 3-to-1. So the traditional sector would have tinggal in terms of numbers, and the government, because it's a democratic government, will always end up defending the greater good of the public, because it's public opinion at the end of the day, right? So in that sense, I think startups, technology startups in Indonesia have a huge advantage, because especially B2C companies that have big user bases, because that public opinion is extremely influential in determining regulatory frameworks by the government. It's never stopped us before. Regulation has never stopped us before.
Basically, if you provide enough value to enough people, nothing gets in your way in reality.
Yeah. Regulation will always catch up. That's okay. We'll help it catch up. We'll speed it up. In the meantime, we go first. Someone's got to do it, right?
At least the last question, but I think we still have a lot.
Yeah, let's get more questions. That's what people want to ask. That's okay, right? We can continue. We still have time, right?
We can still do more questions.
So actually, we have like a network session.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think we'll do this more because now everyone gets to hear the response. Let's extend it. You guys are okay with extending this?
Yeah.
It's better, right? So everyone gets to hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Very good. We don't have a very
First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was a really inspiring talk. My question is, for startups, every time you get funded and they burn money, they try to expand as huge as possible. I want to know what's the project plan in the future, how you guys are going to try to make a profit, not just expanding and like burning money.
I think this is a really common misconception. It's an extremely common misconception that there's this totally irrational. Like it's as if like, hey, we have a couple $100 million dollars in our bank account. Let's just burn it because like it's I think the reality of it is that once you actually look at the numbers, when you actually look at the unit economics, the business is in the long run extremely sustainable. For example, we charge anywhere between 15 to 20% off of every single food item we deliver through merchant. So you're talking, I mean, just fundamentally, food is about 70% margin business, like gross margin from kitchen to serving. It's about 70% gross margin. So it's already a high margin business for the restaurant. For us to take 20, 25, maybe even 30% is something that's totally reasonable. So food, for example, just from there is extremely sustainable, even though we're earning money. Transport, huge market, we're taking 20% cut for the driver. So right now, when we talk about earning money, it's actually just to achieve two things. Actually, maybe just one thing rather. It's about achieving scale and market share relative to other competitors, or also kind of chasing that dream of scale. So it's purely driven by competition and the recognition that the market is still far underdeveloped. So I think some of our investors spoke to us and gave us some examples in India and China of companies that actually monetize too early. There are companies like travel companies that's IPO'd in China in like the mid 2000s who are now a distant like number 12 in terms of the travel sites in China. And the reason was because you have a point where you've only penetrated like 10% of the travel market, but then you're already like, okay, let's start making a profit. But then in reality, you still have like the whole 90% to acquire. So companies who are more aggressive, who are better funded, manage to capture that additional market share, and now the market is where it is, and they're number 12. So Indonesia is still early, which means that the opportunity is still very large.
Yeah, like sure, Gojek earns quite a lot of money, right? But it's for a reason, right? It's competition, maintaining #1 market share. But if you look at it just from simple terms, spending a couple of $100 million to build a $1.4 billion company, that's a pretty good return, right? So it's also like, understand that there is many variables taking that. There's gaining market share, which is a determinant of future profit, right? There's also competitive dynamics and being able to push out foreign competition out. What does that take? What level of strength you need to be able to do that? Capital and technological. So it's a combination of things, but profitability is a function of timing, competitive landscape. There's so many things. Like I want to be profitable, but for example, Gojek tomorrow could be profitable. Tomorrow, like that. We could make a lot of money a month, but then we would lose market share, right? So it's not right time yet to do that.
During the dark days where we didn't have that much money, there were times when we were actually very close to actually being overall profitable, but that was not a good situation to be in because we were losing market share. At one point when we were running out of money, we had to flip the switch and say, okay, we've got to start making money now. But then you start losing market share, and obviously the market is still largely untapped.
So our plan is we'll fight in transport against these crazy spenders, right? We'll fight, but in the meantime, we'll only fight through GoPay. So all the bonus promos, everything goes to GoPay. So for every dollar that we fight against our competition, it gets split into two values. One is Gojek, one is GoPay. On top of that, for every dollar that we spend versus competition, that dollar goes downstream across all our other products, right? So basically your ROI per dollar of customer acquisition, is much higher because you're monetizing them from food, pulsa, movie tickets, etc. downstream. So lu mau bakar, you can bakar with me as long as possible because I'm fielding this giant that is GoPay and this platform. Ya udah nggak apa-apa, I'll let your aggressiveness make my products even stronger, right? Because we all have money, right? So that's the edge of being very well funded company. You don't get bullied. You can't get bullied by the big guys.
So my question is basically GoPay is going to be your next unicorn in like several years in the future. So I'm wondering, like, what's your marketing strategy like?
Less than that.
Yeah, like less than that. Like, it's definitely going to be soon. It's going to be something really big in Indonesia. But as we already know, Indonesian people are really conservative. Like most of them, especially outside Jakarta. Like, how do you convince them to try to go to e-wallet, e-money instead of like cash? And what's your marketing strategy like, especially when you want to spend like a couple of years? Thank you.
The easiest way of getting an Indonesian to use a product, promo. Yep. So, you know, that's the fastest way, and that's kind of the benefit of having capital is to be able to leverage targeted discounting for products. Now, transferring money, you can't put a promo there, right? That's something that's just behavior. But we fundamentally believe that because 70% of the Indonesian population is unbanked. You know this? 70%.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a crazy number. Even India doesn't exist that number. This is a very unique Indonesian thing. Indonesians love their cash. They love their cash. They don't like going to banks. They don't like signing up for a bank account. When you have that kind of a situation, then the very simple concept of just getting money from me to my family, it's so difficult. Either I have to go to Revenue, or I have to go to Western Union, or I have to go to all these various services where they take a huge chunk of money. And now with GoPay, it's gratis. Okay, just imagine that, gratis. So you will invest in a smartphone at some point in your life for you to be able to give your mom in the kampung duit secara gratis yang dia bisa keluarin langsung dari Alfamart. That alone is a powerful use case. Dia udah nggak usah jalan lagi ke Western Union atau jalan lagi ke, karena dia nggak punya bank account. Nggak tahu caranya bikin bank account, ada KYC lagi. All you have to do now is download an app, put some money into it, like giving the money to a driver somewhere that you see on the street or on a mini car, and that's it. You're good to go. You're now part of the digital economy, and then you start doing other stuff. You start looking, ooh, I can shop online. I can buy my bus tickets to Jakarta. What else can I do? I can pay my electricity bill. Oh man, every time I pay my electricity bill, this guy takes a cut. I don't want to pay that anymore. So you basically, the main reason why the 70% of the population will use it is because it's more cost efficient. It's simply more cost efficient. Everything in Gojek, dude, we cut the price of objects in Jakarta by what? 50%? 50%. The price of objects in Jakarta was higher than Bluebird before we came. Now, 50%. That's what efficiency gets you. So you gotta be the cheapest. Oh, last question. Okay, last question. I think from that side. Yes, sir.
Hi, so from technical software engineering perspective,
so from technical software engineering perspective, what are the differences between being a software engineer in the US compared to being in Indonesia, for instance, apart from the pay cut or like building the camp, like what are the technical differences? And also, is there any unique problems in Indonesia that you solve by the software engineer, using software engineer, and can you share about it? And how can you solve it? Thank you.
What? Okay, so there are two things, right? If you think from a landscape point of view, right? The landscape itself is very, very different. So, are you studying right now or working right now?
I'm working right now.
Where do you work?
Google Fiber.
Google Fiber. That's pretty interesting.
I gotta admit, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. but the thing is, the interesting thing which we have is a very different. So comparing Google Fiber to Gojek will be like comparing Apple versus Orange. But the scale of problem, the scale of impact which you have, given for example, I talk about customer segmentation, which is like one of my favorite things. So think about it. We have Gojek ecosystem, and you have customers who come in. right? And they have exposure to over 16 to 18 products right now. We know almost everything, the way Google knows almost everything what you search and where you go and what you dine. We know almost everything, but a little bit more, say what exactly you ate, or where exactly you went, which movie you watched, what movie ticket you purchased. We know a little bit one more level of difference in that. So Google, where it stays at the web browser level and understand what is your intention. Google or Facebook sometimes know what you did, but they know up to 90–70% time they know about your intention. What we know is your action. Okay? And that makes us way more interesting in terms of customer segmentation. That makes us way more interesting in terms of understanding how humans behave from supply and from demand side. And that's where we are investing a lot of time, energy, and next 12 months to build this platform where we can actually plug third-party systems into our application and give you more and more better services and allow you to have a customized Gojek experience. So Gojek will become a kind of platform which will expose itself to you. So what you see right now is a static tiles, but over a period of time, it will customize tiles per user because what they do and what they are telling us. So that is a way more complex problem to solve right now in terms of engineering problems in Indonesia, and which has way more impact right up front with you when you see those numbers going up and up.
It's very hard to describe the difference of the software engineer when they're working on Gojek, especially when they're in Jakarta. It's crazy because everywhere you go, from rumah to your family, to your friends, to conversations when you're on the side of the street that you overhear, the word Gojek comes out every single time. All I have to do is go downstairs to Block M Terminal and I'll just sit there in the middle of the crowd and I'll talk. And I'll hear people talk about Gojek and they're like booking Gojek or they're complaining about a certain issue, etc. Just the sheer amount of feedback that you get from the people around you, everyone is always talking about Gojek. So that feedback loop for a software engineer is amazing because you get to immediately see the impact of what you did right and the impact of what you did wrong. So it's such honesty, it's such an authenticity, and you're constantly giving that feedback. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. Walking around anywhere in Jakarta and everyone is using your product. You can't say that about startups here, right?
You feel responsible.
Yeah, you totally feel responsible. but it's super cool. It's super cool, that feeling. For me, that's the most favorite. My favorite part is seeing people use the product and complain about the product. And it's good. It's good. It means they're engaged. I think that's the last question, right? I think we're gonna move into the networking piece. Is that right?
Yeah.
Session. Okay.
So we have open moderator. Everybody who has.
I don't have one.
You can have a conversation.
Can I have one? I am over 21 years old.
And yeah, this is time you can get all the drinks. Everyone about 21 years old, just bring your IDs.
Or not.